And welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is Darryl E. He is the head of federal strategic partnerships with Google. And his topic today is going to be Map It with Google. Darryl has a very great background working in public sector with federal systems integrators, emerging tech policy, and one of our favorite topics, BDPA, big data and predictive analytics. So Darryl, tell us about Map It with Google. Talk to us about your background, where you are, what Google's doing, and shed some light to some of our young men and women that are interested in this field.
Absolutely, Perry. And really, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. It's just so exciting to speak to the next generation of leaders. You all have such a great future in store, and you will be able to contribute so much because there's such a need for those who are specialized in data science as well as in geospatial. So I'm so glad that we're able to collaborate today on this Earth Day. And what I wanted to do is, one, provide you with an overview of the Google Cloud platform, because I think that provides some insight. And then we will go to the conversation around maps. And really what I would like to do is, talk about maps from a, financial services point of view. So how to look at it and look how Google Maps platform is being used by some of these organizations. So with that being said, I will now share my screen. All right, fantastic. So why Google Cloud? Usually that question is asked first because a lot of folks know Google, but not necessarily all of the solutions that Google has brought to this space. So one thing I want to do is really just hopefully set context for you all and how Google is actually helping when we talk about Google Cloud conversations. Now, one of the things that I would like to start with is our principles. I think all of us should always have certain levels of understanding and values that we can all align on in order to achieve outcomes. Google Cloud represents over 130,000 employees, and in that we have to have similarities that we all can agree on. So this way, as we bring and support our customers and also our stakeholders, they can actually see the value and alignment between our organization. So number one is also about transparency, and it's being able to uncover insights. It's interesting because I was traveling on the road a few months ago, and I recall a time when in order to identify where you were on the interstate, you had to pull out something called the atlas. And in that atlas, it had a bunch of pictures. And where we are today, infrastructure is changing so much that you have to constantly update it. So how do you have transparency when you utilize paper? And that is through some of our modern applications and platforms. Using data to inform decisions. So really, that comes down to how do you make your decisions? When you or a parent goes to a shopping website, are you looking at the reviews? Are you looking at the scores? Are you looking at the insights? Are you looking at the feedback? And all those are helping to inform your decision. So data is essential for us to make decisions. Now, diversity is really big in Google, and being able to have diversity means you have diversity of thought, diversity of age, diversity of race, and a number of other factors. But we want to approach diversity as a business challenge. Therefore, if everyone in the room doesn't represent the aggregate of the organization or the society that we live in, then there may be an issue. So we want to make sure we address and approach diversity as a business challenge. Everybody's ownership, starting with leadership. You all are leaders. Everyone should have ownership. And one of the conversations that we had, and this was during a time with a previous employer, is that when people talked about cybersecurity, is cybersecurity the role of the cybersecurity executives, or is it the role of everybody? Is sustainability the role of just the sustainability officer or of everybody? The cloud utilization of the cloud, is it just one person's responsibility, or does everyone have some role that they play in the digital transformation process? So that is the one thing that we wanted to say, is that everybody has ownership, but it also starts with leadership. So the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. You all are leaders, and I'm glad that we have great programs like this one to really uncover those insights and inspire you as leaders. Diversity is part of culture. Culture is so important. One of the books that I've read, it talks about culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's very true. So if you don't have the right culture, then you cannot really encourage your customers to have a great experience with you, as well as being able to focus on innovation as an outcome. Think globally, act locally. I usually say have macro awareness and micro focus. And then it is a marathon and not a race. Everything that we want to have happen, it won't happen tomorrow. And I'm sure that many of you experience that as you go through your lessons and curriculum, that it is a marathon. It takes a little while to learn algebra and geometry and a number of other mathematics or science areas. So I would just say stick with it. It's a marathon and you will surely get there. As mentioned earlier, many people look at search as the primary area of Google and what they most know Google for, and potentially Gmail. Maybe you may use Maps as well, but some folks don't know that YouTube is an Alphabet or Google company. They sometimes don't know that Android is a Google company, or even the Chromebooks that some of you use in your schools. That's Google, and also Google Drive is also Google team. The one thing that is very interesting is that Fitbit is also a Google company. And actually, I have a Fitbit on right now. So it definitely does show how we are transforming the way the world looks at not only just search, but also everything.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
Now, when any department goes out into the community, we're able to hear the positive responses. And that is a great feeling to know that what we're doing is affecting and impacting the community. In the past, we've heard negative responses about the city being unclean, there's a lot of trash on the ground, or the police, we never see them.
It was important for our residents to feel as though that government was going to be responsive.
People were relying on a 9 to 5 being able to contact about any issues that they had.
We put together a very innovative app that gave our residents access.
IBM assisted the City of Sea Pleasant to incorporate Watson into the My Sea Pleasant app. Any resident who has a question that they want to ask about the city on a 24-hour basis can go into the app and click on Watson to ask it a question.
We had a tree fall, and instead of having to call City Hall, I just went and used the chat and said that there's a tree falling in the middle of the street, and they sent Public Works out to get it for me.
I've used it to report potholes that are in the street. I've used it to see what's going on in the city.
No matter where our Public Works director is, no matter where our employees are, they're able to log in because it is on IBM Cloud and get the service request in real time and respond, in a quick and efficient manner.
It allows them to get to us sooner. On a weekend doesn't matter because it comes through, I'm gonna get it. So I love it. I don't see how we ever did without it.
Most organizations have a mission, and in that mission, it just tells us what we are all trying to achieve. And with that, Google Cloud wants to focus on accelerating the organization's ability to digitally transform and reimagine the agency through data-powered innovation. And this is our CEO and our president. And when we start talking about transformation, and this is going to lead into how Maps plays a role in it, we think about it in 4 areas, and that is looking at data. So you all are focused on data, right? Big data. So how do we use data for data management? So what are the types of databases that we use in order to store large data? So whether that is structured or unstructured. And then how do we take that large data and put it into some application that helps to understand and organize that data? And that's a tool that we call BigQuery. From a freedom perspective, that's when you have multiple clouds. The city of Memphis is utilizing Google Cloud in order to identify potholes. So I'm not sure if you ever rode around with your mom and dad, or if you were driving as mom and dad and ran over a pothole. I'm not sure that's not a great experience. Well, Google Cloud is working with the city of Memphis as well as other cities in order to help identify those potholes and quickly repair them. And with the National Institute of Health, we are working with them on clinical research. So a lot of the research that's being done in order to address cancer as well as other ailments, that is being collaborated on Google Workspace. And New York City is utilizing our tools in order to help out and protect their digital services and websites to ensure that their citizens have a great experience. When we talk about cloud and what that means from an infrastructure as a service perspective, it usually comes down to network, compute, and storage, right? And being able to understand how to organize that information is important, and also how to configure the cloud to support your agency's applications is important, or your organization's applications is important. But we also focus on big data, which is definitely something you all focus on, machine learning, identity and security, which is so important, as well as being able to connect all those applications together to unlock and uncover insights. But also Google has a number of SaaS products, and we will get into Google Maps shortly, and there are other providers that do similar things, but we believe that we have a great solution and product suite to support use cases. So before I move on to my map slide, I just wanted to show you that we do work with a number of partners. So many of these companies you may or may not be familiar with, but they are essential to what we do as a business. So we definitely thank our partners for all that they do within our organization.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
Every year, we come together here, marvel at the view, and strengthen our resolve to preserve it. This year, we arrive again. Our ambitions are bigger because our obligations are too large to measure, and our opportunities too substantial to squander. At Microsoft, we bring unparalleled sustainability commitments to over 33 million square feet of real estate around the world, creating modern workplaces where nature is the building block of our designs. Because thinking sustainably, building sustainably, living sustainably, and working sustainably is in our nature. So this year, let's commit ourselves to making Earth Day every day.
Financial services landscape. I wanted to focus in on this area because many of you are familiar with financial services to some degree, whether you have a bank account or you have some level of interaction with banks or the financial services industry. So, one of the things that we talked about is that there are a lot of shifts in those that are unbanked. Unbanked communities usually impact underrepresented groups, and we want to make sure that those groups are addressed. And really, what we're seeing as a result of the pandemic is that finance and financial services are changing fast, and we have to meet the needs of those who are in search and in support of their financial outcomes. So millennials are now a pivotal demographic for financial services. So 75 million millennials are entering middle age, which is my generation, and then you have 68 trillion in wealth being transferred between generations. So I'm sure many of you are using various apps, whether it's Google Pay or it's Cash App or Venmo or whatever the case may be, but you are seeing a lot more transactions taking place, but also there's a geography that is associated to it. So what we're going to do is try to unpack that a little bit more. So financial technology is really skyrocketing. So you have, 20 million customers now banked with neobanks. So those are the smaller banks, and also some of the challenger banks that came in over the years, like IDG and Ally and others. And also you're seeing a significant growth rate to these banks as compared to some of the year-over-year for the incumbent banks. So when we talk about unbanked and underbanked customers, as we say, those are usually those that don't have access, may not be digital natives, or just may be new to getting access to the internet. So 63 million in unbanked adults in the US alone. This is a lot, right? Out of a $300 billion population, 300 billion person population, and 1 billion is unbanked adults across the world. So we surely want to understand where those impacts are coming from. So in the wake of COVID-19, streamlining operations is vital. So we see a lost revenue that is happening. And also we see 14% of banks going online during the pandemic. So with this financial services landscape, we see a lot of rich, tailored, and frictionless experiences through the use of your phone. And also, we are seeing it become more digital across the board. So there are some folks that utilize their phone as their credit card now, right? And utilizing that previous journey may not necessarily be part of every experience. And even your Fitbit, you can pay for items at times. And also, it's looking at operational efficiency, and banks want to understand how they do that. So how does the financial service industry adapt to all these changes that we just discussed? How do we make sure that we create an environment for them to thrive, but also for those that are unbanked and underbanked? So location intelligence is that focus area. And the reason why I wanted to focus on location intelligence, it is associated to everything we do. So if you look at any industry, we are starting to see more information around your geolocation than ever. And it's really to not only be looked at as a value of information and providing you access to where you're near, but also it provides security, because if you are who you say you are in a certain location, then there are certain algorithms that can help more from a location intelligence perspective. So one of the things that we are seeing is that there's fewer calls that are happening with location intelligence. We're seeing significant revenue growth, and then we're seeing a lot more customer retention, which is really important, because if you start geolocating where your customers are, then you can have more engagement with them. So in location intelligence, there's a difference between leading and following matters. So when we think about our financial services industry, we have to understand why location is important. One is how you are banked. Two is, once again, where you are located and how to get access to the resources that you need. And then it's also saying, well, how can we shorten the gap between the question that you have and the need that you have towards items that you want. So look at this customer journey. And this is really where Google Maps does come alive for you all. So as you look at your mobile phone, you help the customer understand what transactions they had and where they had it. So maybe some of the students on the call may not necessarily resonate, but it should resonate with the parents. The other thing that it does is make your sign-in process easier. So I know many of us use the single sign-on and the ability to leverage certain SAML tools in order to gain access to those insights. And I will say that it is not becoming foreign for folks to have this experience. And because of that, that is now the expectation. One of the things that I learned along the way is that yesterday's delighter is tomorrow's satisfier. So many of you are expecting that single sign-on experience. You don't want to have to remember 1,000 passwords, and you want to be able to have those outcomes that you want to achieve. So as far as verifying identities, that is something that is done during the signing process, and it actually leverages location. So when we talk about maps and what it does, it not only helps you get from point A to point B, but also helps inform. And one of the things that Google Maps does is it's constantly updating. So I remember the Atlas example that I gave earlier in the conversation. Well, now you have Google Maps that is constantly updating in order to make sure that the addresses are accurate and that it's associated to the name that is on file associated to that person. So when you talk about quick and verified signups, so they make sign-in easier, utilizing location intelligence, and essentially Google Maps being the underpin of that. So when you also, so here's an example of Autobank, and you enter in your information. And one of the things that's really a cool feature from Google is, and you may have experienced this as well, is that you have autocompletion. So as you start to enter in your address, it automatically begins to update utilizing Google in order to complete, to make sure that it is accurate and that is representative of addresses that are stored in the register. So it's stored in a large database, right? We talk about data management, and data insights. Here's a prime example of where you are inserting data and the application is automatically responding to your request. And also it says verify your address. So now it's not only looking at the address that you put in, but it's saying, are you there? Or do you want to be reminded later of you being at that location to, once again, create security around your financial services experience? Here's another prompt that you'll see from time to time where you see accessing your location in order to verify it's you. And then once verified, you will be confirmed and your account can be created. So this is all an experience around how Google Maps can be helpful for you and how it is changing the nature of identity and identity verification. So here's an example of how Maps is looking to impact you as a user. And it's great how they go through this as far as identifying the keystrokes, auto-completing with your address, looking at static maps through your area, and then looking at geocoding for your address location. And on the back end, it looks at the user's physical location, utilizing user location, looking at the software development kit for the Android utility, and then it verifies your address for delivery of payment card, as well as updates your information in their customer relationship management platform. So when you have quick and verified sign up, this actually creates a number of opportunities, and this is a lot of data, right? So I wanted to make sure, based on this being a data audience, that you had a lot of data to walk away from, but you see a lot of time saving across the sign up process, around 64%. You see 15% increase in conversion rates, as well as 80% in overall click-through rate. So you are actually having a better experience just by utilizing location intelligence as your means of leveraging Google Maps. So that is something that really does help you out as a consumer, and also helps companies out to make sure that your information is safe and you are verifying customer identities and you're decreasing overall fraudulent accounts utilizing this method. And you can only imagine, before we had this capability, how challenging it was. There's still a significant challenge within the IRS to make sure that we can identify identity. And I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for our Google Maps team to help support, to make sure that tax returns are going to the right individuals and that everyone is maximizing their benefit. So here's Tokopedia, and Edwin said successfully completed addresses have gone up by 10% since integrating address validation on Google Maps and our app, which is a great improvement. So we have, and many of you have seen apps that are now utilizing some level of location analysis. And with that, you are definitely seeing improvements on the back end to ensure that we are validating where you live and who you are. So, and I want to make sure that I have enough time for questions, but this is more the case study about what happens in regards to the challenges they were experiencing because Indonesia, and this is out of Indonesia, they're geographically dispersed with 1,700 islands spanning 3,200 miles outside the major urban areas, which creates a challenge. And the result was that they utilized the Google Maps platform in order to really standardize address location and address verification. So that is something that we are really excited about, and surely, hopefully, it does play a role in the way that not only you look at data, you look at geospatial data and how that information is actually transforming the way that we as consumers interact not only within our own environments, but also globally. So with that being said, I will go back to stop sharing my screen. I'll go back to Perry. Perry, I'm not sure if that kind of covers some of the aspects, but I really wanted to go into Q&A and talk about some of these ideas that were presented today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, this is very enlightening because we've had for a long time the high school computer competition with BDPA. We also have the IT showcase where students do research and development. They write a white paper and present that at our national conferences. But I cannot recall any time where we actually really took a look at location intelligence, location analytics or analysis. And so one of the questions that which you just presented is share with us a little bit about the SDK and the software development kits. Are students able to create their own mapping layers? How creative can one be on leveraging the Android platform and adding map layers to any particular app that they may want to explore?
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. And there are a lot of standard libraries that students can use right now, but there are a number of APIs that can be leveraged. So you can actually build into certain websites or applications features that are are accessible through our Google Maps API. So I would say that as you look to uncover new methods of ways to overlay. So one of the things that you'll see, there's been an update made to Google Maps recently, and where you're able to see stop sign indicators, you're able to see traffic lights, you're able to now mark if you see something on the road, if you see an incident, if you see an accident. So those are things that are being built on top of a core platform. So I really will say that the sky's the limit in regards to what you can do, but just really having that baseline understanding of what those software development kits are, what those standard libraries are, and how to effectively use them.
And in other areas, we're working with junior ROTC units now. So we're trying to get young men and women in the program. Many of them will someday hopefully be part of our supply chain as well as talent acquisition. So one of the areas I think could be of interest, we also have a mobile app showcase that we do at our national conference. And we're going to be in Atlanta this year for the next 3 years for our national conferences. Mm-hmm. So along those lines, for some of the application development and some of the excitement that you just presented, talk a little bit more about logistics. And what I mean by that is logistics and the zero trust architectures, because what you just outlined was very intriguing, and leveraging basically, again, location intel or location analytics or analyses with cybersecurity or anywhere in the cybersecurity framework or any combination of challenges that we still have with zero trust architecture. So for a student working on some of the programs that we have, what could be one of the areas that they may want to pursue if they're writing that? And I'm not trying to give them many answers right now, but I want them to start pursuing these white papers to present at a national conference so they can share with other students.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things that I would highly recommend is that there's a solution called Beyond Corp that Google developed in response to zero trust. And in that, what happened was around 2009, Google was actually hacked by foreign adversaries. And because of that, we realized that they were utilizing known credentials. And when you have known credentials, you can pretty much navigate through an environment and you are perceived as a good, right? You're an employee. However, what we realized is that as the boundaries started to expand in regards to the network infrastructure, you can't trust anyone on your network because you have so many different instances of interaction. And due to that, we are taking another look at it. And I think it's identity, credential, and access management being a focus area. And the second part of that is looking at the solutions that you have. The one benefit, I would say, is that Google Cloud and Google Workspace in particular, and that's Gmail, Google Drive, and also Google Maps, they are all built on a zero trust architecture. And really it starts with identity, but then it starts to go beyond that to say, well, are the individuals that are within your network authorized to have that access? And if not, make sure they are quickly identified and removed from your environment. So I would definitely recommend that the students check out the Beyond Corp. They have a number of great research papers, and that could be an excellent starting point for your presentations.
Yes, sir. And then finally, the final question we had coming in was basically how to get started. Okay, here I am in 7th, 8th grade. I'm just looking at this information. I love Google Maps. What is, real quick, what are some of the, I would say, minimum requirements that high school students must have to even start to explore various careers leveraging these platforms?
I will go with an acronym around STEAM, right? So being able to look at science, technology, engineering, art, and math, being able to have knowledge in those areas. Because if you think about it, there is a starting point, right? The science aspect is understanding the topography. And that goes with the geography research. And then you look at the technology, and where you're taking various data points and you're looking at those ones and zeros and seeing how you can uncover how to represent a map on a screen and how does it interact. From the engineering side, that is really not only due to this idea of problem solving, but also doing, right? And doing, testing, and redoing again. We usually say plan, do, check, act, right? As far as that model that we use. From the new insights associated to the Google Maps platform. And then the last thing I would say is mathematics. You have to be able to apply mathematics to those outcomes. So all of the computer and technology that we see, they are all a result of math. So I would highly encourage that you continue to do well in those subjects, continue to learn more. And there's a lot of great videos and great insights that you have. So, and there's still a video that I would like to share at the end if I could, Harry. So this way the students can get a view of how Google search is used, because that is definitely a significant math problem. So when we think about math, just know that when you have algorithms, those start with mathematical equations.
And then finally, we still have a lot of kids that love gaming. So for the gamers, the videographers, the cinematographers, and the artists, the graphic artists, mapping, geospatial intelligence, location intelligence, what are some of the areas that they can look forward to if they do not get a computer science degree, or if they shy away from math?
There's going to be a lot of opportunity, I believe. You don't necessarily need to have a degree to become a developer, to become an advanced developer. So being able to really find your niche, right? Being able to find expertise in areas that you're passionate about are very important. You can be a project manager, right? Project managers are always in need. You can look in customer experience, right? How me and you interact with Google Maps may be different. You need someone to really aggregate that information and really convey it to some of the development teams. You need folks that are really honed in on user experience and user intelligence, right? And saying, okay, well, how do I make sure this outcome is better than we saw it before? And also, there's always a need for like contact center support and advanced support when people are having challenges, right? Not all of us are digitally savvy, so we'll need some consultants on the side in order to give us that insight. So you will have a number of avenues to benefit from as a result of you potentially not going to get a formal education through university. Perry and BDPA family, I just want to thank you again for the time. I greatly appreciate you all for your passion around data, around digital transformation, and really around becoming and making this world a better place. One of the things that Google is known for search is search. So what I would like to do is share with you a video on 2021 in search. We've gone through so much over the last few years, and I think it's always interesting to see what people were searching for what they were trying to understand and what answers that they received. So thank you again, and I hope that you all have a great rest of your year.
Thanks a lot, Darryl, and happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Thank you.
This year has been extremely challenging for me. I am broken. And I am healing.
I'm here at the memorial wall. I wanted to do something to remember my mum.
For some reason, I'm having anxiety. Obviously, it's normal with everything that's going on right now.
I think I'm gonna take a break for a while.
You can get through it, and if you can get through it, there's a greater reward on the other side.
Just like anybody else, I'm just trying to do my little part to try and save my community.
I'm just really excited we're back open.
And I am smiling under my mask.
Incredible scenes on the day the fans came back.
Welcome back to the theater.
You guys, it's been so long.
You're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, there I am.
Be your best. Never, ever, ever stop dreaming. I don't care what they tell you.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, find the defendant guilty.
I am proud to be Asian!
We are not drowning, we are fighting.
We cannot keep quiet about climate injustice. No action is too small.
We just have to band together as a community and get people's lives back.
Even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious.